Welcome in Tuesday edition, Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal, McCready, Clarkport Studio here this morning. Ole Miss basketball picking up big time commitment yesterday. The number 44 player in the country, John Bowl, verbaling to the Rebels after a weekend visit. Hit on that a little bit. Our old friend Bobby Robbins back in the news, the president of Arizona, as the Arizona Board of Regents have an executive session special meeting today. Got a hunch that has to do with realignment. It is aligning with the Pac-12 announcing a TV contract today. So that and more coming up on the show. Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. Ribs, lunch specials, so many different options for you. Clean, convenient store. Fill up on your way in town or out of town. Again, you can call ahead, have dinner ready to go. Wet ribs, dry ribs, whatever you want. They're in the hot case, dessert, side items, and more. If you're in Clinton or Brookhaven, you get the homemade donuts. Tons of options up and down I-55 and throughout North Mississippi as well. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. Right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote. The rest completely up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done. What I recommend that you do, and that is hop into a Clark Ford today. 662-257-1900. You get great service, great products, obviously. Corey and the people at Clark Ford want to be your car guy. They want to be your truck guy. They'll prove to you what that means when you make the call. 662-257-1900.
So again, John Bowl committing to the Rebels. 7'2", 190. Got some room to put some weight on there for Mr. Bowl.
Yeah, he's a couple years away. He's got he's going to play a year in overtime elite, which is
essentially a pro basketball team.
Yeah,
from a competitiveness standpoint.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Multiple draft picks off that team this past year in the top 10.
Yeah,
right.
Well, Asar and Amin Thompson.
Oh, right.
The
Yeah,
twins.
yeah.
I don't know that. As someone who watched a lot of overtime elite because of Amin Thompson and Asar Thompson,
you're familiar with overtime elite.
I don't want to speak disparagingly of overtime elite, but it is not the G League.
Okay.
It is not playing in New Zealand. It is not. It is interesting. There are times when overtime elite is pretty interesting basketball, and there are times when overtime elite makes you question your life as you sit and realize I've watched this for an hour now.
Less structure than AAU at times.
It's very similar to AAU at times, where it's just But look, he'll get to play against good players. Sometimes it won't be a structure.
Who do they play?
They have teams within overtime elite.
Oh, that's a league.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, I'm catching up here. All right, go ahead.
So it'll be a good experience for him, but he needs to grow. He's
only been playing basketball for a few years.
Yeah. He picked it up as a teenager, late teenager. So he's got a lot of room to develop. He's athletic for a big. Obviously, he's got to fill out, but he's got time. And he's probably. I talked to Rob Cassidy last night about him. Rob's seen him play multiple times. Rob thinks a couple of years from now he could be a really, really good player.
Yeah, Rob talking about his upside in the story he wrote last night on him, talking about more athletic than a lot of 7-footers in Ole Miss. Definitely at least trending toward trying to put more height there in the front court right now. You got Sharp from Western Kentucky on this team, who, as they pointed on the board yesterday, his Wikipedia page says he's one of the tallest humans in the world currently.
Yeah.
7'5", something like that for Sharp. This was the kind of a shock here. Somebody who had released the top 4 48 hours before a visit to Ole Miss. Ole Miss was not on the list. Takes a visit, commits a day or two later. Certainly, portal one thing, and it counts. It definitely damn counts. But from a high school standpoint, really the first big whoa kind of from Chris Beard here.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, Beard, when he was on our show, and I've seen him on other shows, say that the days of having a bunch of guys on your roster that have been there 4 or 5 years are probably over. But I've never discussed this with him, so I shouldn't put words in his mouth. I have a suspicion that coaches are starting to get a little portal wary in terms of building your entire roster through the portal, because you spend so much time trying to build program culture, chemistry, work ethic, accountability. And then you get them in June, and you go through the summer, and then you have some fall work, and then boom, here's the season, and it goes by really fast. And then come middle of March, you turn your whole roster over again. And doing that over and over without much continuity, I think, is proving to be difficult. And you look at some of the teams that won, that they didn't do as much of that as others. And there were some really talented teams last year that were turned over, that even though they were really talented, they just never fully maximized their talents because you don't have enough time. Again, it's if you compare it just to the NBA, which is basketball to basketball, even though it's a different level, the basketball teams that win at a really high level at the NBA level typically have a core group of guys that have played together for a long time.
Well, I mean, look at what Beard did at Texas, and that first roster was a lot of variability like that. It was guys from kind of everywhere. You had some transfers. You had an international kid. You just heard stuff. But he was starting to recruit well from a high school ranks. Because, look, it's a math problem. Is you get 15 players on a college basketball team. Well, 11 transfers and 4 guys who've been in your program. That's a lot of continuity stuff, and you got a whatever versus, hey, I got 8 dudes who have been with me for a minute. I already know what they're doing, and I'm just making the other guys matriculate into what they do. That's a totally different game there from a math standpoint. I mean, it's what...
Well, yeah, because the players that have been there will hold the new guys accountable.
Yeah, this is what we do. This is how we do it.
Where the coach doesn't have to throw the conniption fit constantly. There's not all that stuff happening. Some of the stuff happens within the locker room, and guys just acclimate easier.
It's probably one of the 2 things that Alabama football should get credit for over the years and years and years is you come in and, by God, it is a system. And this is what we do, and we move on.
Absolutely. It's the number one thing.
Yeah, that's it.
It's the number one thing.
I don't care how highly recruited you are. Here's what you do. That's what every coach emulates and tries to do. It's what, Lane at some point tomorrow is probably going to mention continuity with transfers and trying to figure it out. He did last year. It was a huge point of emphasis.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about it. It'll be mentioned at some point tomorrow. So, yeah, any high school kid makes sense for that.
If they get eligible, now you're up to 16, if my math is right, defensive transfer portal guys. Now, I mean, I'm not criticizing.
Yeah, sure.
You do what you got to do. I don't know that if you injected truth serum into any coach that he would say, yeah, I think the path to building a consistent winner is 16 guys out of the transfer portal on one side of the ball year after year. I doubt if that's what they would say. I mean, Pete Golding just came from Alabama. That would be, we get access to him one day in camp. I can't remember when it is. Maybe Saturday. I don't know.
There is a coordinator day, yes.
And I'm sure that he will be told what he can and cannot say. Because last year, Charlie Weiss stood up there and looked like he was in front of a firing range. I was like, dude, are you scared of us? But he was scared of what his boss would say if he went back. But I think that's the question for Golding is that, you come from a program that very openly says, and people mock it. It's funny to me. It's one of the things that kind of bugs me. I'm not trying to make this Respect Alabama Day, but you do have to respect this. They are very steady in what they do. They evaluate. They evaluate beyond physical. They will openly tell you that not everyone belongs in that program, that not everyone's tough enough mentally for that program, and that when you get into that program, there is a standard that is held. Period. And a lot of people go, oh, that's lip service. That's crap. They just go out and give every player a Dodge Charger. No, it's deeper than that. I mean, it is. They're not winning just because they go out and buy a bunch of players. Is that part of it? Sure.
No, you got to buy the right player.
Sure. But once you get the player in, no matter what the acquisition cost was, he puts on a practice uniform and has to go out there. And at some point you have to acclimate and it has to fit and you have to do all of those things. And they do it remarkably well. And the proof of how well they do it is that the guy in Athens who spent a decade in Tuscaloosa is doing the same exact thing. And people go, well, but there is a commitment to that standard. And so I'm curious with Golding, how do you acclimate from, hey, I've had these guys that have been in this program for a long time, that know how we practice, that know how we play, that know what's expected of you, to now I've got all these guys that come in from all these different places, including guys that left places because they got kicked out for doing stupid shit. Pardon my language. You got to bring those guys in and get them to acclimate to what I'm assuming is a standard that you're trying to establish.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, a couple things there. Look, it's what Beard's trying to do here because look, this is a dub, but it's chicken or the egg a little bit. You win some and you build this, and then it's easier to maintain at that point after you've built it. I mean, you got to have proof of concept, and that's what's interesting from Golding. It's what's interesting from Beard and all those things as you're watching this kind of play out in real time. Speaking of those transfers, just a little additional info that I've asked people about yesterday. The reason that Ole Miss has optimism regarding Chris Graves, the Miami transfer, is because he was not kicked off the team. He lost his aid, but it was not a disciplinary kickoff. And because of that, there are some loopholes in the portal situations on eligibility. On paper, he was not dismissed in a way that would violate him from being eligible, whereas it seemed like Dudley does not have the same. That's gotcha. The differentiations between them has something to do with the reasons or the way that they lost their aid at the other school. If you're removed from aid, there are some loopholes to getting immediate eligibility without being inside the portal's windows. If you were
on Graves, I didn't hear anything specifically. I asked people who cover Miami, actually, a couple of them, and they both said the same thing, which was the word that was used? Just culture.
Yeah.
Just didn't fit.
Yeah.
You can make fun of that all you want. It goes along those lines. It's to me, it's one of the most fascinating storylines in college football, and we don't really write about it for two reasons. One, it's complicated. Two, the coaches won't talk about it publicly. Not in a way that makes it where you could really write something compelling. And three, we're still conditioned to treat college players with kid gloves.
Yeah.
But the truth is, like Cristobal at Miami is trying to build a culture there. It's not something you do overnight, right? And last year they at times, I've seen him talk about this. I think with Josh Pate, it was actually a really good interview. God, that guy's a success story, by the way. Holy cow. But Pate went down there and he kind of opened up about it. It's harder than you think it would be to get people to buy into what you're trying to get them to do daily the things that you want them to do without you having to harp on them, and so at some point you have to make examples of people. At some point you have to drive divisive elements out of a business, if you will.
It's related topic. Basketball's my brain today is why I thought about it, but I'll dovetail it off of football. This Ole Miss basketball team, how good they are or not good they are this season is going to be 100% determined by these waivers when it comes to second-time transfers, what's possible, as we've told you for a while now. Mental or physical issues are the only applicable waivers for these athletes to get these second-time transfers. If Ole Miss gets Brandon Murray, if they get Cisse, then they're kind of cooking with gas. They could be really good this season. It could be a roster that is very competitive inside the SEC. If they don't get either one of them, it on paper it looks pretty tough. There's no doubt about that. It looks like it's not enough, frankly, relative to the rest of the talent in the SEC. So it's a huge deal that's sort of hanging over this basketball program right now. But it's why I don't know that we gave it the space, and I don't know what it's going to mean. We don't know tangible results yet, but I heard from somebody yesterday who had some comments from had some a conversation with somebody at another SEC school about the same thing. It's Kiffin and that staff doing the mental health thing. And you can talk about it on surface and go, oh, well, that's cool, whatever, and sort of move on. But what he's doing is trying to create another box to get more possibility of getting these waivers where you go, hey, if this guy had mental health, come here and we can do this and we are prepared for this and we are better suited for this than maybe whatever. It's one more tool in the toolbox. It's actually kind of creative and impressive from the standpoint of you at least throw another possibility to get a plus sign over in your bracket when they're trying to make those decisions on what to do with mental health waivers. Because if you've got an entire staff that's certified in that, I'm using quotes, then that opens it up. And again, I don't know what that means. We don't know how much effort that plays or not plays, but it's odd to me that schools would not follow the lead and do the same thing. That there have been a lot of schools very hesitant to go down that path when it's an easy thing that potentially would pay off for you with a player. I don't really get it.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it to even comment. I just remain curious. I'm not cynical. I'm not skeptical. I'm just curious. I don't know what the NCAA will do. The NCAA has been defanged in many ways. It doesn't have a lot of power anymore. This is one of the last areas where it can sort of flex its muscle if it chooses to go, no, these are the rules. This is the deadline. You didn't get in before the deadline. You're not eligible. Because if you just from their view, if they ruled it that way, I mean, the argument's not hard to make. If you don't enforce the deadline, then the portal window never closes.
It's true.
That's their argument.
Yeah.
Logically, it makes perfect sense. If you don't enforce the deadline, like today's the Major League Baseball trade deadline.
And it's a very hard deadline.
It's 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern.
That's it.
And so if you make a deal, you can still make a deal. You can still trade on August the 14th, but that player's not going to be eligible for the postseason.
Right.
And you can still trade.
Sure.
I mean, you can still swap minor leaguers. You can send cash considerations. You can do all sorts of stuff, but it can't
impact the postseason roster.
If you want to fortify your postseason roster, it's today by 4 p.m. And that's the rule, which makes it where, okay, well, everybody abides by it. If the NCAA says, well, you know what, you were late, but you're eligible. All of a sudden, the floodgates open, and now you just have a wide open portal constantly where you even start getting into the, okay, well, what if a guy enters the portal 2 weeks into the semester? Can he just basically transfer to a new team and pick up in week 3? And I know that sounds ludicrous, but that's their argument would be, well, where does the slippery slope stop?
Yeah.
Once you start going down the hill, where's the brakes? That's why I'd be stunned if everybody involved in this gets eligible. Because if they do, if you're an outsider looking in, you go, okay, well, there are no rules, which very well might be the case.
I think the line of separation on this is going to be documentation related to these issues.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I guess, complete guess. I don't know what
just
they're
makes
doing in
sense,
Minneapolis,
right?
But I think that is, hey, if you've done some things and been some places and got some paperwork, then you got a pretty decent shot. You know, it might be neither, it might be both. If it's one or the other, it sounds like Cisse has a better case than Murray from everything I've heard throughout the process. That there is some documentation related to whatever his claim is at this at this juncture. Murray obviously dealt with coaching changes and all sorts of stuff, but that's no longer criteria.
Again, if you allow the second transfer with no transfer penalty, what's to stop the third transfer?
Mm-hmm.
What's to stop the fourth transfer? At some point, these guys just, hey, I'm going to play for a new team every year. And maybe that's fine. Or maybe that's people determine that that's cool. I don't know. But I mean, if you're trying to rein it in any degree, you've got to enforce some rules at some point. And that means that you have to say no, which is not particularly popular in today's environment as it pertains to the student athlete. Everything is very pro player.
Completely.
And so that's, I mean, you know, look, I'm an advocate for mental health. Don't get me wrong. But if the NCAA puts its boots in the sand here and goes, that's it. This is the spot where we draw the line. I mean, I get it. I understand.
Oh, I do too. I mean, in a general sense, I have no issue with it. Okay.
You know, I mean, otherwise it's just so a guy can start. I mean, at what point does a guy start fall camp, get a weekend, realize, hey, I'm not going to be the starter here. I could go to school X and be the starter. Classes haven't started.
I'm kind of depressed. I didn't win the starting job. I'm depressed.
My grandmother's sick and I'm depressed. I need to go.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
So, I mean.
So I would put, if you're a tier system, Cisse, Murray, Woodbury would be the order that I would put there on those three.
Yeah.
We'll see. Now, timeline, no freaking idea.
They may have already ruled.
It's true. Like I said, I mean, Ole Miss is in flux more than maybe anybody in the country because, I mean, it is absolutely dictating their situation moving into the season.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different dynamic if you want to put those guys there or not. Really good defender and rim protector in Cisse.
It's why two things can be true.
Murray
at once.
on ball better than anybody else on the roster, potentially. He can do some things that people can't do.
I mean, I see people doing this. They're definitely going to the tournament in year one.
You don't know their team.
How do you say that other than you're just being a fanboy? Now, on the flip side, you can also turn and look and go, it's very evident that he is turning the program around in quick order.
Yeah, he didn't go to the tournament his first year at Texas Tech, but they were hell later.
Yeah.
It took a minute.
Yeah, I mean, it
took a short minute, but it took a minute.
And he's doing the right thing by talking about the tournament this year because that's what you –
year one.
Well, you don't want guys to come into your program who may only be there for a year, and you look them in the eye and go, hey, guys, we're not trying to make the tournament.
Well, and you want to be fair to Brakefield and Morrell and those guys. Hey, you've been here. Okay, we're going to try.
Yeah, of course.
We're not saying, oh, no, you're going to be gone before we even really get to this thing.
Yeah, I mean, especially in Matt's case. You could have gone pro. You could have transferred. There are places Matt could have gone.
Yeah.
And he didn't, and so, yeah, but I don't know. I'm sometimes amazed at some of the things that people.
Yeah, the hard line. This is the winning record for. It's like,
they're going to win 24 games. Based on what?
Who's on the team?
I mean, they're going 10-2.
I think it's this close your ears and just act like the portal does, like the transfer isn't needed. No. And then when they get denied, if they get denied, well, we got screwed. Well,
yeah, that's not it.
This has been more complicated than that the entire time. So,
I think it's why when I. More and more, I just go hide in the corner, media stuff.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah. Oh, we'll talk some Maria. Go ahead.
You're not exactly a social butterfly in those settings.
AirPods. No, I've gotten really bad about a lot of settings leaving AirPods in, including throughout the entire process. Like I can be a bit of a jerk at baseball at this point because I will just go to my corner and have my AirPods in, and I don't really speak to anybody but one or two people, and just. Like I'm
I need to
I'm not good at learning new people's names if you're in the room, and like you could be there for a month and I don't know. Yeah, I mean it's not a good trait probably, but it's where we are. I don't know.
I don't know. I used to think it was a really bad trait on my part, and now I'm starting to think, you know what? It's speaking of mental health, it's good for mine.
Yeah, I ought to get like tapped on the shoulder because I'm just like an audio book or something.
I just put a little calm music on.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, a little bit. Sometimes just calming music. Just kind of
playing Coldplay while it goes through your head.
Coldplay's on the list.
That's what I figured.
For sure.
Yeah.
You never listen to Coldplay and get all worked up.
That's a good point.
Very calming, just. And if you don't like a song, you just double tap, move to the next. It's not bad.
I spent the last hour of coming back the other day with Carly Ann playing DJ and listened to that one Chainsmoker song like over and over and over and over again, and I was beginning to go a little bat crazy over the course of
I remember
the hour.
I've told the story. I can remember driving from Mobile to Orlando to cover the Citrus Bowl, and I left on Christmas Day, which was
that's fun.
Yeah,
it makes you question your life a little bit, doesn't it?
Oh, I mean,
hey, hurry up and open presents. I got to head to Orlando.
I love that you guys have the best job in the world. You just watch football. It's like, well, it's a little more complicated than that, but yeah, I was driving there and I realized that I couldn't get the Wiggles Christmas album out of my head. Couldn't get it out because Campbell just watched it on repeat for three months.
So it wasn't even like it wasn't even like a secular song.
No, it was the album.
See, I'm really glad I avoided the Wiggles and what's that other Caillou or whatever that thing. Caillou.
Yeah, I mean, I thought
that was never a thing.
I got bad thoughts about Caillou. I sometimes thought bad things.
You'd like to hurt somebody.
Well, I mean.
Yeah, Hardman, that the Frozen era doesn't end for a while either. If your daughter's into Frozen, that's going to stick for a bit. For whatever reason, that's got some staying power.
See, I didn't mind Dora the Explorer.
Oh.
Because sometimes I'd go along with it, there's a little more plot twist there.
Okay.
The grumpy old troll and Swiper the fox. And
Oh, yeah, Swiper the Fox.
Yeah. That's how we potty train Campbell.
It's like Swiper, no swipe. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Okay.
that's how we did it. Swiper. Swiper was on the floor in the room.
Really?
Unless you
Really?
did things the right way.
Really?
And then Swiper would get put up.
And that worked?
Like a charm.
Damnedest thing. Okay. Some realignment in a minute. We'll tell you about G&M Pharmacy, 662-236-2222. They deliver locally in the Oxford area. They offer medicine. For your prescriptions the same day each month that take care of you. One trip to the pharmacy, one delivery, and you have everything you need when you need it with G&M. So can transfer your medications. One phone call, they take care of the rest. So whether it be Tyson Drugs in Holly Springs or G&M there on South Lamar, that's 662-236-2222.
Do you hate losing games? Do you hate losing players? Do you hate paying for your insurance? If you said yes to those questions, Davey Ferris can help. Davey is partnered with the Grove Collective. We'll be donating 20% of all commissions, 10% of all renewals on both personal and commercial insurance policies. Davey can service customers in all 50 states. He's dedicated to making sure Ole Miss athletics succeeds in this new era of college sports. So contact Davey Ferris at 214-715-7247 or via email at dferris, that's DFARRIS, at hillcoinsurance.com. Are you retiring soon? How long should you wait to take Social Security? What accounts should you pull from first? Are you already retired? Should you consider Roth conversions? These are some of the questions that can be answered with a personalized retirement income plan. Andrew Sego with Sego Wealth Management specializes in helping folks just like you come up with their retirement game plan. Whether you meet at his office in Collierville or prefer Zoom from anywhere, schedule a free discovery meeting and see what he can do for you at rebelsretire.com. Stress out about the Rebels, but not your money. It's rebelsretire.com. We're brought to you by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating, different names, but same great products, same great people, and same great services. If you live in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, or that area, call Comer, 662-801-1777. If you live in Hernando, Memphis, or the surrounding area, call the people at Southern, 662-429-4429. A-Stock is a Nashville-based online retail company with the power to provide customers the power to name their price. All items at A-Stock start at just $1. That's right. Every item starts at just $1, no matter what the retail value may be. Shop now at astock.bid. That's ASTOCK.BID, or download their app. Name your price on thousands of items from big-name retailers. A-Stock has multiple locations around Nashville, Memphis, Indiana, and more locations coming soon that offer local pickups, so don't miss out. And the College Corner is coming to Oxford this fall. The newest location will be in the Oxford Commons right off Sisk Avenue. They'll have more than 4,000 square feet of the best Rebel gear with plenty of parking available. Their staff will have you in and out and ready for the Grove in no time. It's opening middle of this month. So check out their website, collegecornerstore.com.
Podcast also brought to you by Heavenly Sunshine, and they've got Christmas on their mind. Kick off Christmas in July. They're announcing holiday lights by Heavenly Sunshine. They know Christmas lights are beautiful and they can be a lot of work. So let them take care of the hassle and do it for you. Their full service installation plan, they'll install, take down, and even store the lights for you. Commercial grade LED lights that are 100% customizable to your home or business. They take care of the lights while you take care of the gifts. Book your free estimate before August 31st. Mention MPW10 for 10% off. They've been serving the Mid-South and Oxford for decades. Full service commercial and residential property maintenance includes power washing, soft wash roof cleaning, facade cleaning, and window cleaning. HeavenlySunshine.com, 662-342-1203 to book your estimate. So, some movement, Pac-12, definitely, maybe with the Big 12 today. This kicked off yesterday, earlier in the day, with multiple media outlets reporting that the Pac-12 was going to present a long-awaited media rights deal to members within the next 48 hours. It looks like some of that is going on this morning as the league's board and ADs are scheduled to meet on Tuesday with their commissioner. This comes on the heels, obviously, of Colorado leaving for the Big 12 during their media day on July 21st. The Pac-12 did not give a specific timeline, only that the deal would be completed in the near future. The situation with this has been going on for over a year now, as they had negotiations with ESPN and Fox after USC and UCLA left. That deal expires at the end of the coming school year, and pretty much they are not in competition with the SEC and the Big Ten. They are at least in theory, in competition with the Big 12. The Big 12 got a deal done, a 6-year extension with ESPN and Fox. It begins in 2025 and is worth $31.7 million per school. That obviously is nowhere near what the SEC, the Big 10 are getting, as it's upwards and north of $50 million. But it's competitive. It's not bad there for the Big 12. That is the clear front runner to be the number 3 conference when everything shakes out here. What is
big time?
Yeah. What is interesting is that, and I don't understand this a little bit, so you're going to have to take me through it. So this comes out, and then on the heels of that, yesterday, several media members pointing out that Arizona had a Board of Regents meeting yesterday. They've planned a special meeting for today, and all signs, because it was just executive session, they didn't list any contents for their meeting, was pertaining to realignment and movement, theoretically, to the Big 12 for Arizona. The University of Arizona is clearly the front runner in this. They're the ones that the Big 12 would want more. They are the kind of the lead horse to the flagship university in that state. But much like Mississippi, they have a board of regents that handles 3 schools there. Arizona, Arizona State, and Northern Arizona are all under one board in the state of Arizona. So I don't know. I mean, do you have speculation here? Is this both of them being involved in this potential move? Can you separate them out from one to the other or not? Because the domino effect is fairly interesting. Dan Wetzel with a column this morning on Yahoo talking about, as I mentioned, Bobby Robbins, the chancellor at Arizona, the heart specialist who was in the running for chancellor at Ole Miss back when we were covering that a few years ago, and multiple times, frankly, over the course of the tenure. Wetzel calls him currently the most powerful man in sports because he holds a lot of keys at his disposal right now, because after Colorado bolted, the Pac-12 can live without Colorado. That is not a death knell. However, depending on what Robbins in Arizona is doing, Wetzel believing that they can knock down the whole thing of dominoes right here, because if Arizona and Arizona State leave, or even if Arizona leaves, Utah also most likely to follow, and that would completely topple the whole thing. Because this is my point. How are you presenting a TV plan this morning unless you already know what teams are leaving? Because if I'm ESPN and Fox, I can't agree to a deal with the Pac-12, and then the next day Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State leave. That's no longer the deal that I had in place. So where are we here?
Well, so I've heard a lot of different things, and honestly, I'm not sure anybody really knows.
Because that leaves Cal, Stanford, Oregon, Oregon State, Washington, and Washington State.
Right. So there are 3 or 4 different things that are sort of out there. One is that the Big 12 is only going to expand to 14.
And where are they right now?
13.
So that's only Arizona.
Once Colorado joins and Oklahoma and Texas leave, they're 13. So that would be conceivably only Arizona, unless Arizona decides to stay in the Pac-12 or Pac whatever the hell it is, and then Connecticut would join. The commissioner of the Big 12 is very interested in Connecticut.
So Arizona and Connecticut.
Well,
or one or the other.
One or the other.
Okay.
Now, there's also a belief that the 14 thing is just bluster, that they're willing to go to 16.
Which would make that's easy.
Which is Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and they would kiss the California, Connecticut thing goodbye.
Yeah.
Then you've got this Pac-12 thing where nobody really knows if the Pac-12 is going to be able to present firm numbers to its member institutions today, because they've got one number that includes a TV deal, and by the way, it's believed to be nowhere north of $25 million per school.
So less than the Big 12,
and more likely around $20 million per school,
which is significantly less than the Big 12.
About half.
Yeah.
So if you are reading the tea leaves here, the Big 12 seems to be coming from a position of relative strength. And then the other stuff that's out there, I've got an interview scheduled later today where I'm doing an ACC preview, and this is going to come up. It's not just bluster that Florida State and Clemson are strongly debating telling the ACC to kick rocks and say, fight us in court. We don't think you'll win. And if you do, we'll pay it.
the only public quote that Robbins has given to this point.
Did you hear what I just said about ACC?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm just finishing this, and then
because that if that happens, it's seismic.
Yeah, I'm moving on. Robbins' quote there. All I keep saying is, we're just going to wait. We're just waiting to get a deal. Then everybody has to evaluate the deal on its merits. I've been pretty steadfast in that stance.
Yeah,
meaning peace when it comes out.
Yeah, because look, any school that rolls the Pac-10 dice right now.
Yeah.
USC and UCLA are gone. Colorado's gone. You now know that Washington and Oregon would leave at a moment's notice.
How have they gotten left out?
Because they're kind of off in a corner up there.
Okay.
The Big Ten wants, like the SEC, the Big Ten, two things. The Big Ten wants to see what 2024 looks like. They want the data, just like the SEC does. What does this do to our numbers? What does this do to fans? What does this do to TV numbers? What does this do to our ability to make the 12-team playoff? Do 3 lost teams make it? Does strength of schedule matter? Should we schedule 9 conference games? There's a lot of questions that you can't answer yet. You can speculate, but you don't have any data. They'd get data. Now, the other thing with the Big Ten is what I was saying a minute ago, which is, would you rather have Oregon and Washington, or would you rather have Clemson and Florida State?
Clemson, Florida State.
I mean, if you're trying to build a football powerhouse, you've got this Saturday night. Listen, whether they're right or wrong, we're going to find out. But the Big Ten wants to try to emulate the NBC Sunday night game of the week.
No, and they have the right platform for it.
You
can't discard
NBC,
it.
Right.
Yeah.
They want to do on Saturday night at the college level with the Big Ten what they do on Sunday night. And if we're all being honest, and I love the NFL, you love the NFL, what is the one NFL game that you are other than the Saints that you're guaranteed Sunday night? It's not Monday night.
No.
Monday night's busy. People got soccer.
It's Sunday night.
Jenny's got dance, softball. People got stuff on Mondays.
Sunday night's football.
But Sunday night, you're kind of wrapped up.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at me, for example. My goal every Sunday is, hey, I want all my work done by, if I can do it, all my work done by 3:25 on Sunday.
That national 3:25 game.
Because I can turn on the 3:25 game. I can go light the grill. I can light the fireplace. And I can go into the 7 o'clock game. And if it's compelling, I'm in it. If it's not, third quarter, I'll head to bed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my day. You can't tell me I'm alone in that thinking.
No.
I'm almost certainly not.
Of course not.
So they want to do Saturday night. Big Ten Saturday night. We got some brands. USC's a big brand. Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin.
And the SEC's big game's not at night. It's at 2:30. So
yeah, and so if you added Clemson,
frankly, some weeks their number 3 game is at 6:45.
What does Ohio State Clemson look like on big game Saturday night?
Yeah,
I mean, we can make fun of it, but you turn on a Clemson game at night and you watch the players run down the hill and stuff, and you're
and
like,
it would actually
cool.
prove to you that the Big Ten has completely made the turn, even in perception of they're not worried about these AAU university things or any of that. Just give me the football.
Well, and there are people that are, but here to your point. Your point's a good one. The TV partner's like, look, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it, but no, we need brands.
Yeah.
And Clemson and Florida State are both.
We're not doing a science contest out on the 50-yard line, so it is what it is.
And so if Clemson and Florida State start getting serious about getting out,
yeah,
and they are serious about getting out. I know there are people like, they can't do it. I'm telling you, there's a conversation happening. I talked to someone at Clemson yesterday.
How do they legally get out, though?
Well, you just get out, and then they fight you. You might lose, but at some point you go, hey,
because you can't pay the penalty. You can't afford it.
I don't know. Some of these schools are starting to think maybe it's worth paying. By the time you got punished to pay it, because if you fight it in court and go, I don't think this holds up in court.
So are you going to take $40 million every year and put it in an escrow in case you lose?
You probably would. I've been telling you this all along. If the difference, the ACC money is like less than $30 million.
No, I mean, I get it.
And the Big Ten money is $70 million.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. If you can't look across the landscape if you're Clemson. You can't look across the landscape and go, so wait a minute. Indiana gets $70 million a year.
Yeah.
And we get 28.
Yeah.
Do the math, Bob. It's $40-something million, $42 million in that scenario, $42 million a year for the next 10 years. What's the penalty? 150 million? Well, that's 400 million.
Yeah.
Let's eat it.
It would take fiscal responsibility, but I understand your point.
I think that's what's coming. And when they do it, the rest of that league is going to go, okay, let's find our spot. It's
in 10 years, do we have a league that is the leftovers from the ACC and the Pac-12 in one league across the freaking country?
potentially.
Your West is Oregon, Washington, Cal, Stanford, and
Yeah.
your East is NC State, Wake Forest, Duke, and
Yeah.
whomever.
Conceivably. I mean,
Austin, by the way, Super Chat asking if Arizona State, any chance they wind up in the SEC? I just don't see it.
I don't think
Yeah.
so. There was a time when I thought that was a real thing, but they were somewhat tied to USC in that scenario. There was talk years ago about USC and Arizona State going to the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona State has a big one of their holdups is Arizona State has essentially a campus in Los Angeles,
Oh, do they really?
and they have it's what I've read.
Okay.
And they have a ton of LA alums that go to Arizona State, and they're worried about pissing them off.
So, real quick, back to one of your other points, though. Do you think there's a chance this is Arizona without Arizona State?
Yeah.
Talk about a regents meeting that's interesting when you're combined with, because I mean, you can imagine that in here, the IHL. Hey, Ole Miss is moving to this conference, but State's not.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be brutal,
Ooh,
but
God.
that's where. I mean, Robbins is a pretty strong leader.
Yeah.
I mean, like Boyce is a pretty strong leader. If Glenn Boyce just said, "Hey, look, I don't really get what happens to them." I mean, honestly, that's
not my.
that's not my job.
Yeah.
At some
And it's
point,
where Robbins is. He's going, no, whatever.
well, his job's not to protect the best interest of Arizona State.
No.
His job has nothing to do with Arizona State. His job has to do everything to do with the University of Arizona. What's in its best interest, and right now, what's in its best interest is look. What was it called? Musical chairs.
Yeah, sure.
Remember when you played musical chairs as a kid? And as it got down to the end, and there weren't as many of you, and the chairs were still there, and you're walking around, you're getting antsy. Remember that? The music's playing, but you're hanging on every note because you're trying to position yourself to be ready to jump to the chair.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
We're there.
Oh, it's true. Yeah.
There's a few chairs. There's not room. There's not a chair for everybody. I mean, there's a real chance that where college football is going is the SEC, the Big Ten, getting 5 bids each, and the Big 12 just like, hey, can we get 2? Can our top 2 go?
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Beggars and choosers and stuff. I mean, they've positioned themselves.
Depending on how much the SEC and the Big Ten want to work together, they could really just create this conglomerate that.
Yeah.
We're going to be the AL and the NL, and
Sure.
we'll see you.
AFC, NFC, 16-team playoff, 12, whatever the case, and go. Absolutely. They could pull away and do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
They
September 1st is going to be a head-to-head weekend, and we're going to play 16 games against each other to kick this thing
Well,
off.
I mean, I can promise you Fox and ESPN would sign up.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they want.
We're going to do an SEC Big 12 challenge thing here with football, and we're going to play.
Yeah.
And here's your week bonanza of big names and big stadiums and the whole
What
deal.
would you rather watch, Iowa at Ole Miss or Mercer at Ole Miss?
Yeah, of course.
I didn't ask. Then don't give me I want wins. Now you're being a coach. Be a fan. Be honest. What would you rather watch? What's one of the great?
We spend a week on it. Hey, what's going on? Well, we got Auburn, Penn State. We got Ole Miss, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
I mean, yeah. Hey,
Sure.
Hey, Tennessee's at Michigan State. Let's talk about
I mean, all jokes aside, there's nothing compelling in November about ULM at Ole Miss. Nothing. Nothing. And if you're the TV people, frankly, it ought to piss you off.
Yeah, I'd spend some time on Kentucky at Illinois and Indiana at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, more than you would
That's what I mean.
ULM at
I'm
Ole
taking
Miss.
bottom barrel stuff.
I mean, if you're an Ole Miss fan, you watch ULM at Ole Miss. But if you're our friend in Dubuque, he's not watching that. He's not.
Mm-mm.
Why? Why would you even take a moment to watch it?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of your inventory is something that's completely unwatchable. Nationally, the only way anybody would turn ULM Ole Miss on is if someone said, "Hey, ULM's ahead in the fourth quarter."
You went, ooh.
Oh, okay, upset.
Yeah, sure.
But if it's 42-7 in the no, thank God I didn't turn that on.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's one of the It's one of the pulls that the NFL has, is that you very rarely have a true dog game.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I mean, I don't know where it's going. Today's interesting. I'm interested in the whole Clemson Florida State rumor, because I actually asked someone yesterday close to Clemson. I said, "Do you buy the rumor?" And he goes, "No, I think it's a year early."
Oh.
And I said, "But there's something there." He goes, "Oh yeah, the writing's on the wall." And so once the writing's on the wall and you get antsy and they're playing musical chairs, at some point you jump into the chair before the music stops.
You just go, "Hey, I'm down."
Right? I mean, you're so desperate to get in the chair that you jump, and you hope that maybe they didn't see it, that you didn't go early.
Yeah. Podcast brought to you in part by Prime Shrimp, primeshrimp.com. 7 different flavors available for you. Everything from the New Orleans style barbecue to the signature, 2 of my favorites, the full meals in a bag, the garlic herb butter, and the French Quarter Alfredo, lemon cracked pepper. So many options. Great for salads, lunch, dinners. Throw it on pasta, rice, veggies, and get it shipped directly to your door. Use code RG. 5 pouches or more, 25% off. Stock up on your favorites. Try a little of everything. 10 minutes freezer to plate with restaurant quality shrimp. They also have their 2-pound bags of individually frozen shrimp. A lot like what's in the grocery store, except for higher quality shrimp from the New Orleans based company. So again, that's code RG with primeshrimp.com.
Game Changer patches are the only 2-patch system available in the market to stop hangovers before they start. The warm-up patch used before or while you drink. The overtime patch used after you've been drinking to recover while you sleep. The all-natural ingredients will keep you in the game, ready for your next place. Go to GameChangerPatch.com, promo code RebelGrove20 at checkout for 20% off your purchase. We're brought to you by Dead Soxy. Dead Soxy, the best socks you'll ever put on your feet, from the no-shows to the NIL socks to just their traditional socks. They're all phenomenal quality. They stay up. They feel great. They look good. You'll love them. It's deadsoxy.com, promo code RebelGrove at checkout. Get 25% off all non-licensed products. We're brought to you by Pinnacle home to the Pinnacle 401k advisory services team. Get in touch with them, and they'll conduct a complimentary, no-obligation benchmarking and analysis of your current 401k plan. It's mypinnwealth.com, MYPINN wealth.com. John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated is the guy to go to if you're thinking about making a holiday trip, one that you'll remember for a lifetime. Just get in touch with him, give him some parameters, give him a budget, let him give you options that you're probably just not going to find on your own. 901-494-3387 or jedwards@regencytravel.net. OPA on the Square is the perfect place to plan your company dinner, your festive party event. If you're already thinking about that company Christmas party, get in touch with the people at OPA. They can accommodate up to 200 guests, fabulous food, great craft libations as well. Contact Jeannie for booking or catering information, 601-421-7147. And we're brought to you by Service Specialist Staffing and Recruiting Agency. We told you yesterday about if you're looking for a job, how they can help. If your company is looking to hire quality, hard-to-find talent, Service Specialists can help you too. Keep in mind that payment of service is solely contingent on if you decide to hire a candidate that they send. You've got nothing to lose, so give Will, Sydney, or Kelsey a call at 662-832-5138 or check out their new and improved website, servicespecialistltd.com.
South End Zone is sold out, but sideline tickets remain for Ole Miss football this season. You can also get your 2023 party packs. You can customize your pack, 4-game packages, 3-game packages, or 2-game packages. Mercer, Georgia Tech, LSU, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, A&M, and ULM, the home games this season. So OleMissTix.com there for sideline seats or to customize your party pack for 2023. Said yesterday I was going to just briefly go over some of that Sean Payton stuff from yesterday with Nathaniel Hackett, former Broncos coach, that was with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay for a long time, now reunited with him as he is the OC in New York with the Jets. As Neal mentioned yesterday, Jets getting pretty trendy there in the AFC East and the AFC overall right now. Payton, who is hired as Denver's coach in the offseason, Hackett 4-11 before he was fired last year. Payton's called it, quote, one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. In a media setting a few days ago, he has since come back and said he had his Fox hat on, talking about how he was an analyst for a little while and wasn't necessarily thinking at that point. Aaron Rodgers has come back at Payton at this point, calling it out of line and inappropriate. Rodgers' full quote Says, my love for Hack goes deep. We had some great years together in Green Bay. We kept in touch, love him and his family. Incredible family man, incredible dad. On the field, he's arguably my favorite coach I've ever had in the NFL. Just to approach it, he makes fun. He knows he cares about the guys. Just goes about his business with respect, leadership, honesty, and integrity. Made me feel bad that someone who's accomplished a lot in the league is that insecure that they have to take down another man to set themselves up for some sort of easy fall if it doesn't go well for his team this year. Thought it was way out of line, inappropriate, and he needs to keep my coach's name out of his mouth. Peyton had gone on to also say, essentially, they were doing everything completely opposite of how things went last year with Hackett, and he predicted a negative season for New York because they were dealing with hard knocks and all those things. And if you do that, you're repeating issues and all sorts of stuff. So he went after multiple teams there. The Jets coach deflected, basically saying that if somebody they don't play until week 5 is already talking about them, they must be doing something right. Did Peyton go off at the cuff, or did Peyton do the thing that happens a lot of time in any level of management of we're going to put it all on the dude who's not here anymore, make him the common enemy, and try to unite the people who are still in the building? It's giving him a lot of credit.
It's giving him a ton of credit.
And look, he's pretty mouthy. He's my guy for a long time.
Yeah, I covered him a little. He's a smart guy.
Sure. At times he uses the media, and at times he doesn't think before he talks. So you don't ever know exactly what's always coming.
I'm kind of team Aaron Rodgers here, though. I tend to agree with. I was catching myself going, yeah, as Rodgers was talking there. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all. It's good for the fan. Now in week 5, I go,
if I'm a media person, I'm like, thanks, man. Listen, here's the thing about, and we're about to start tomorrow with it. Preseason camp, Ole Miss starts August the 2nd. They don't play till September the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
They don't Second. They don't play for a month.
Mm-hmm.
You start running out of things to write about after a couple weeks.
100%.
And so, you get a gift. And if you're an NFL training camp where they don't play till September the 10th, most of these teams, you're like, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
You just killed a few days there. Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You let me, because I get to follow up on this and I get to ask other people about it, and I can
opine and play, and
I can push this wide receiver story back another day. So I get that part. But, I mean, look, Denver was a mess last year. How much of that was on Nathaniel Hackett? How much of that was on Russell Wilson? How much of that was on the front office for letting Russell Wilson have complete reign of the place? There's a lot to be said. And Hackett didn't look prepared at the beginning of the year, and it spiraled. That doesn't mean that he's not one hell of an offensive coach. It just means it didn't work there.
The Broncos are really interesting to me, only not from a team standpoint, but only in the thing of if Peyton makes Russell Wilson good again, you go, whoa, yeah, okay.
Sure.
That really is a storyline for the season that has my attention.
I will say after watching Wilson last year, I'm skeptical.
Yeah, sure.
But if anybody can do it, it's Sean.
He's a hell of a quarterback coach.
He's terrific. I mean, Drew Brees might not have done. It's the part of the whole Saban conundrum that we do. People always assume that had Drew Brees gone to Miami,
he'd have been the same dude.
That he'd have been the same guy. Well, that's a hell of an assumption.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, we'll never know, so you can't go, well, there's no way he would have.
Yeah.
But you have to at least consider the possibility that, well, Sean Payton and he turned out to be a really good team.
Yeah.
If he didn't have Sean Payton on his team, would he have still been as good of a player? And that's a fair question.
Where do you put percentage of accomplishment Peyton Breeze versus Brady Belichick?
Well,
individual people inside the team.
It's so complicated because in the NFL is designed for you to be cyclical.
Yes.
It's why the organizations that are so consistent, you really tip your hat to them and you start pointing at the coach, whether you should or shouldn't, like Kansas City,
Yeah, sure.
Pretty damn consistent. And now that they have an elite quarterback, they're a Super Bowl winner. But even before Mahomes, they were good. I don't know. I guess I was around the thing in New Orleans enough to think that it was a real dual effort. I mean, I thought during those years that Peyton and Breeze were attached at the hip. When you watched them in their preseason camp, whether it was in Metairie or Jackson, they weren't ever apart very much. That was a conglomerate. I think Belichick tried to treat Brady like a player, and then when Brady left, it became obvious that Brady was a damned good quarterback. But also that roster was kind of built around Brady, and when Brady left, other people left too, and so there was a bigger crash.
Yeah, Mike Mularkey was the offensive coordinator at the time for the Dolphins with Saban.
And maybe Mike Mularkey and Drew Brees would have been a great team.
Sure.
I mean, we'll never know.
Yeah.
That is one of the great.
Mularkey been a head coach a few times.
I mean,
not very successful.
It's
but
one of the great sports conundrums or
it's a great one.
hypotheticals.
It's my favorite one pertaining to Ole Miss because Houston Nutt is a legend in this scenario.
Yeah.
Because he wins the West at least once.
Well, in year one, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
0-8 too. West champ. I mean, it would have been.
Oh, sure.
Oh, Jesus.
Sure.
Hogville would have
it was
combusted into
Mercury. It was a great coaching job.
It was
that year. I mean, Houston's problem at Ole Miss was not his coaching. Houston's problem at Ole Miss was that he viewed it as
he did not believe Ole Miss could win at a high level.
He viewed it as a mediocre program, and he would recruit mediocre, and you would just like him.
And he was tired.
Yeah.
He's very tired. Whew. NFL's going to be fun. I'm in. I mean, always in, but kind of looking forward to it more this year than even a non-Saints way because the Saints are in purgatory. Whatever.
I love NFL Sunday.
I've got some people trying to get me in on the Saints going, no, look, they're going to score a lot of points. You got Derek Carr. I don't know. I mean,
well, they'll be better at quarterback.
Well, yeah, sure. Derek Carr is better than Andy Dalton.
He's more consistent than those guys.
There's no doubt about that. Doris said he saw Houston Nutt at the gym yesterday.
Oh, I mean, Houston's a nice guy. I mean, he wasn't nice to me, but he's a nice guy.
He wouldn't be last on your have a beer with list.
No,
of coaches.
I don't harbor some grudge. He wouldn't be first, and he wouldn't be last. I covered Andy Kennedy. There's easy first.
Okay, that's fair.
Hal Baird would be way up there.
Yeah, look, the Saints are going to be they're going to be fine. The division's winnable. They can't win a Super Bowl. My expectations are if you can't win in the postseason, I'm just kind of like, okay, because we're not in rebuild mode where I'm excited about the wins. Like
sure.
That's what I mean by purgatory. Is no, they don't suck. It's not wow, let's go 6-11 and I feel really good about them and wait till next year and the next year and watching this Nuggets type build. It's not that. But they have a lot of money tied up in a lot of dudes, and I don't think they can win in the postseason. Yeah, I think they can make the playoffs. I think the Saints absolutely can be a playoff team.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Probably can win the division.
Sure. Absolutely could. They're in a division where, frankly, 3 of the 4 teams probably go into it thinking they can win it.
Yeah. I would definitely rather work out with Houston than Edo. There's no doubt about that.
For sure.
I don't need all that. Houston and I can just swap some sets and talk, and it'd be all right.
You could absolutely have a casual conversation with Houston Nutt where you walked away and he still hated you, but
it was fine.
You were congenial. I'm not convinced that Orgeron could do that.
You don't think so?
I mean, I'm not convinced. I don't know. That's like people think I have something with Freeze. Freeze and I would have a perfectly pleasant conversation.
You would contemplate picking Freeze out of the football list. You got Matt, who we all like.
Yeah,
so that's not fair.
I'd pick Matt first.
Yeah. Matt looking good, by the way. Lost some weight. Looks great.
Looks great.
He's hanging in.
Yeah, no.
He was the least stressed person in that picture with all the Auburn folks here a few weeks ago.
Look,
hanging out. Hey.
He took a job that was offered to him.
It's not his fault.
Nope.
It's not Ed's fault. It's the person that hires you's fault.
Absolutely.
We all would have said yes. You're going to pay me what? For a dream job? Yeah, 100%.
1,000,000%.
Give it a shot.
Absolutely.
I mean, look, I think the Saints win the South. I do. I mean, I think they're going to win the division. But here's what happens when that happens is I start convincing myself they can go win 3 or 4 games in the postseason, and they can't. So I'm just setting myself up.
You get to the playoffs.
Come on.
Just win one game in the playoffs. Now you get another shot. Giants won a playoff game last year. They did. They won a playoff game last year.
And did they have any chance at all of winning the NFC?
Well, they were in the playoffs. You're on the field wearing your uniform.
It's not baseball.
It's
not baseball.
They were on the field wearing their
uniform. The Thunder have
uniform.
a chance of winning the NBA championship. They were in the playoffs.
Well, no, but they were not. They were in the play-in. Once you get to the playoffs.
Because you're going to pull the heat out on me right now, aren't you?
Well, were they in the finals or not?
They were.
I mean, I saw them play. It looked like they were on the court. That looked like Jimmy Butler to me. The court said NBA finals.
Yeah.
They kept running up and down. I saw finals everywhere.
They were on the floor when the confetti fell. Wasn't their confetti, but they were on the floor when it fell.
It looked like Bam Adebayo to me. It did. I thought it was him. Sure looked like Eric Spoelstra on that sideline. If it wasn't Eric Spoelstra, he was a doppelganger. I'll tell you that. Looked just like him. You just want to get in the playoffs.
I get it. I'm clearly saying I'm cynical right now because I understand people yelling at me.
If you win the wild card game, you're in the divisional playoff. Not everybody's in the divisional playoff.
It's my deal with, in general, it's my only negative NFL thing is I just hate this one bye. Hate it. To the point that it actually raises my blood pressure. The 2 seed should get a bye.
I get it. You're that way about the way I am about college overtime.
I just it makes no sense to me. I don't like punishing the 2 seed.
I know. You're the way you are about that the way I am about the college overtime rules.
You hate the college overtime, and I kind of like it.
Them. Hate them. Oh, so now the kicking game doesn't count. Now there's no strategy.
It's still better than the NFL.
Oh, and if we get to the third, we're going to make it about 2-point plays.
Well, no, I hate that.
Well, that's part of it.
Yeah. The old one I liked. Sorry. Yes, the 2-point conversion sucks.
So we're going to decide this game that's been going on for 4 hours on 2-point conversion plays. Really? Because we never do that at any other point.
Yeah, I'm double dipping the 2 that weekend. Saints next day. That's an expensive ticket, but it's not a hard ticket. The other ticket's the hard ticket.
The Titans, Saints.
Yeah. It's a gettable ticket. It'd be packed.
I'm gonna try to get to Nashville and see a Titans game at some point
I've never been to Nashville for a game.
I've never been to a Titans game.
I've seen the Titans in Memphis when they were in Memphis for that 1 or 2 years, but I've never been to a Titans game in Nashville.
It's so hard getting away on a Sunday.
Yeah.
It's just almost impossible.
Yeah. Podcast brought to you in part by Northeast Spark, NESPARC. Service people across rural communities. 2 packages, the Ignite, the 100 Mbps, or the Blaze, the 1 gig that powers the Clark Ford studio. Your hometown team bringing you world-class broadband. It's nespark.com, 662-238-3159. Phone service, pro controls, network security, and more. Again, the best internet in Lafayette County, 662-238-3159.
What day is Ole Miss's open date?
I don't know.
14th? Is that right? They play Arkansas on the 7th, and they're off on the 14th, and they play at Auburn on the 21st. Is that right?
If you say so. I mean, I can look it up for you while you're talking. You want me to cross-reference it against the Titans?
Yeah, I pulled up. The Titans have a Sunday night game that Sunday.
Feels harder to do.
Yeah, against Baltimore, it's almost impossible.
Oh, really?
Well, that Monday would suck.
October 14th.
Yeah, that Monday would really suck. Anyway, what wouldn't suck is getting a beautiful and healthy smile. It's one that you deserve, and you can get it at Corinth Dental. Dr. Bubba McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative, state-of-the-art procedures that will result in a beautiful, long-lasting smile. From routine checkups to advanced treatment, including implants and Invisalign, Corinth Dental is here to help you achieve your smile goals. So schedule your appointment today. Take the first step toward a better version of yourself at corinthdental.com. Are you a displaced corporate executive? You're wanting to put your career in your own hands? If you're an experienced entrepreneur looking to diversify, Andy Ludicky can help. He owns multiple franchises and businesses. He uses his expertise to help others find their American dream through a very thorough and free consultation process. So call Andy, put your life and your career in your own hands. It's 100% free. You've got nothing to lose. MyPerfectFranchise.net, Andy at MyPerfectFranchise.net, or his cell, 404-973-9901. And we're brought to you by Southern Traditions Farm. It's a 68-acre, 32-stall upscale equestrian training and boarding facility in Canton, Mississippi. 2 sand rings, a grass ring, miles of wooded trails, a lot offered at Southern Traditions Farm. It's also a great venue for events, get-togethers, corporate outings, whatever the case may be. Get in touch with them on Facebook or Instagram at Southern Traditions Farm.
Cubs buying in the market, Neal? You going after it?
I was pretty excited about Jamer Candelario.
Yeah.
That was a good pickup. They
give up some prospects.
Traded a couple of prospects that both are Rule 5 eligible.
Okay.
The Cubs have rebuilt their prospect base to the point that they're going to lose some guys this year, so that deal made sense. There's a lot of rumors about David Bednar and the Pirates that could happen. It seems like the price on that would be pretty prohibitive.
Mm-hmm.
They played here's the thing. I watched a lot of debate yesterday in Cub world about, should they have sold? Could they have gotten a haul for Cody Bellinger? And the answer is sure. But man, Wrigley looked fun last night. It was packed. 6-5, Reds in town. It was a fun game. At some point, you owe it to your fans to try to win. Theo Epstein used to say, every season is sacred. He's right. Every season's sacred. As long as you have a chance, shouldn't you go for it? Don't you owe your fans that? When you're telling your fans, hey, come to our games, buy these ridiculously expensive tickets.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want to watch us in market, it's $20 a month on our new app.
And if we're not the best team in the league, we're going to sell or stand pat.
Yeah. What message would that have sent yesterday if they'd taken Bellinger out of the lineup and traded him? There's no guarantee that you win. That's not the point. The point's not the point. That's not the point. When Atlanta back in 2021
that's true.
Traded for Jorge Soler and was it Indy Chavez and I don't know who else, a bunch of dudes, frankly, Jock Peterson.
It's true.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess that Alex Anthopoulos didn't go, hey, we just won the World Series.
No.
Acuna's out. No, I think he looked at it and said, you know what? Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies.
Let's go for it.
Dansby Swanson.
They deserve a shot.
They've done everything we've asked them to do. Let's send a message organizationally.
And then they got hot as hell.
And maybe what the Cubs did yesterday was send a message to somebody. Somebody's agent.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of agents. Maybe there's a message to Scott Boras that, hey, not only did we help you with Bellinger this year, gave him, as in Boris's words, a pillow deal, but hey, we're going to be competitive here. We're going to go for it. We're going to send that's the message. And maybe the message was to somebody else who was playing against the Atlanta Braves last night.
Yeah. As they were saying in the thread, that is a London game. That is 8:30 a.m., not p.m. Titans.
Oh, okay. Well, they sure as hell won't go there.
I think that rules that one out for you.
Yeah, I'm looking for Titans games, home games. They get the Chargers September 17th, but that's no way. So I got to almost get into the high school soccer season. So it's middle of October is when it starts. They get the Falcons October 29th. That doesn't interest me at all. Panthers on November 26th. That's too close to Egg Bowl stuff. You get the Colts on December 3rd. Maybe. Texans December 17th. That sucks. Seattle on Christmas Eve.
You're not going into Nashville on Christmas Eve?
Yeah, maybe. Never know. Get the Jaguars on January 7th to end the season. That'd be a good one, potentially.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
Sanity prevails. The Athletic ran a poll about the Michigan plate lunch from the barbecue at the Big House yesterday, asking was it an adequate meal or not for the situation. 86% said no.
Yeah, it's awful.
The actual athletic editors disagreed and said it was perfectly fine.
Well, they're sports writers. I mean, seriously, let me just tell you, when people go, I'm going to say it. I don't care. When people say, oh, man, you guys are so lucky you get to watch a game in the press box. No. Watching people eat in the press box can be torturous. Even you would agree with that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I mean, there are people that 2 hours before a football game act as if this is their last meal.
You guys have to experience it to understand. You're not going to be able to understand, but there is some weird thing when the food goes out. It is like this adrenaline rush.
Cattle call. That's why they make fun of us.
Yeah. They go,
yeah,
I got to go grab.
Especially
for the random weird game time when it's not even a meal time. The game starts at like 2:30 and it's like 1:15. It's like, well, did you not eat? Like what?
Yeah.
What?
What did you not eat since Thursday?
Yeah.
Have you?
The game's at 3 and it's like 2:10. And you're like, well, what meal is that?
Did they let you out of parchment earlier today? What happened? And then when they put the cookies out and they go get a plate of like 8 of them. What are you doing? And the crumbs are everywhere and they spill and it's just.
I am surprised more drinks don't spill. Very rarely does something get knocked over.
Yeah, but like, you know what I'm talking about. There's like salad dressing. Just. It's just so bad.
It is very similar to needing a sample at Costco. Yeah, it's a similar. Hey, let me.
And I realize I know, because I'll pull out like a power bar.
Yes, the ice cream cooler at State, the muscadine Ripple, is the flavor there.
Yes, no thanks.
Well, we're there when it's 21 degrees outside. I mean, okay, if it's September the 9th, you probably could compel me, but
you could at least get me to think about it.
Of course. Vanderbilt has excellent gelato in their press box.
Oh, really?
Maybe.
I've never had it.
Yeah, Vanderbilt is the strangest thing. The baseball press box gets catered in and it's fantastic. The football press box has the worst food known to man except for the gelato.
Although last year.
Was it better last year?
Credit to, I don't know about the food, but I'd always said you can't do coffee. And last year they had set up coffee stations with like baristas.
Vanderbilt? Really?
Oh, I had 2 fantastic cups of coffee at that game.
Oh, they were actually making coffee, like doing things.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I tipped the guy.
Really?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, that's good.
He had his Venmo thing. I Venmo'd him tips. The coffee was amazing.
Oh, well, that's a good idea.
Oh, it was great. Well, there wasn't a very full press box.
Well, still, but
it was great. No, I was a big fan. I felt like they must have listened to the podcast because in previous years, the coffee would just be the carafe was just burned and the coffee tasted horrible. You couldn't even get a good cup of coffee.
Yeah, I've had really bad press box meals and some decent press box meals, and Vanderbilt breakfast used to, because I've seen a lot of 11 a.m. Vanderbilt Ole Miss games, and the sausage was like gray, and the eggs are like congealed. It's like there's no way I can eat that.
It looked like prison food.
Yeah, there's nothing about that allows me to eat that.
Yeah, no. I'm trying to think what they served last year. I think they served barbecue or something. I don't know that I ate. I just remember looking at it and going, that looks okay. But I did want a cup of coffee, and it was great.
So they do coffee and ice cream or gelato. Sorry, of course Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
gelato,
it was fine.
Like, it's
Ole Miss puts out those chips that are like crack. You just can't.
The Frips.
Yeah,
the
so
fried,
I stayed the hell away
because those are good.
Because if you eat one of those, you're gonna eat 417.
They are good.
So I just avoid. I couldn't tell you what Ole Miss serves. I don't remember the last time that I actually ate in the press box.
They do a lot of like theme meals, which goes against what I normally would do. Like you're more likely to get pork when they play Arkansas or like jambalaya when they play LSU. I would go completely the other direction. I don't like, because it's not going to be great. So like, why are you giving the other teams that's their, like, I don't know. Like that seems to be a thing though. Maybe it's my imagination, but
I'm trying to think. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll test it this year.
Okay.
What is Mercer? They're the Bears?
They're the Bears.
That'll be a pretty
wild game. Is probably not going to be the answer.
That's going to be chicken tenders. Then they get Georgia Tech. Can't serve Yellow Jackets.
You can't. Is Vandy Stadium currently missing their Jumbotron? I have no idea.
I don't know. it's going to be a challenging year there.
But no, the last thing on that, the paragraph they said was, sure, it's not the most gourmet plate. There isn't any succulent meat or garnish. Presentation gives you reason to hate, but let's not pretend any of us would refuse the food, especially in high school. I beg to differ. Chicken tenders, hot dogs, and cookies are staples of a 17-year-old's dream diet. Harbaugh does plenty to earn our skepticism, namely his claim yesterday that 20 Wolverines will get drafted next year. But let the kids live on this one. Have a chicken tender. It'll make you feel better. That chicken tender sucked. If you gave me a real good-looking chicken tender, then okay, eat the chicken tender.
I mean, I live with the almost 17-year-old. He would not have eaten that plate.
I mean, at least it wasn't a nugget, for God's sake. But no, it was fine. It's no big deal.
He would not have eaten that plate. No way.
You don't think so?
No. If I put a cold boiled hot dog in front of him, a Walmart frozen chicken tender, and a couple of cookies, no, he'd look at me like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
What happened? What did I do wrong?
Last thing here. If you're Ron Snicker, do you start resting some players at all? The Braves have 4 players who have played in every game this season.
Yes, I rest them this weekend.
Load man it.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I rest them all. Absolutely. I certainly do.
Cunha looks a little tired.
He looks exhausted.
Yeah, let's give him a day.
You know what I would do? I would just say, hey, why don't you go back to Atlanta, put your feet up, relax, take a load off.
Yeah.
You look mentally tired.
We'll see you on Tuesday when the Padres come to town or whatever's going on.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Meet you at the park on Monday.
Yeah.
At Truist. You don't need to go to Chicago. All sorts of crime. Things could happen there. No, you don't need to be there.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Back tomorrow. Earlier start tomorrow because Ole Miss has a full media day, first day of fall camp. Got practice in the morning. And
do we have practice in the morning?
I think so.
Okay.
Don't we? Yeah, I think so. I think practice in the morning and then interviews in the afternoon. So if I'm correct by that, probably we'll have a stream, start earlier. Either way, podcast earlier, and then content throughout the day, Rebel Grove. So we'll update you on that and back with you then. Take care.